With the final stages of painting this composite painting derived from many sources of sheep in autumn mist, I think it's a good thing to focus on contrast and the strength of light in the foreground compared to the distance. So if we look at the right hand side of this image and look at these more distant sheep, I've put in some darker value for the underside of the animal. Now I'm interested in a subdued light back here in these conditions being rather misty. So I've made a grey, a pale light grey, blue grey, so towards cooler colour and towards a light off-white tone rather than something that's too bright. So the difference there is between dark and light is reduced, and also detail of course is reduced. Because these sheep are one against each other, back sort of light against dark, there's a bit of contrast, but it's not as much as if the sheep were nearer. So the dabbing mark, I'm still trying to focus on using a dabbing mark to curve around the animal. This is a long way back in the painting, so it doesn't matter too much, but detail here, I'm trying to reduce the level of contrast. Take the mark and make it describe the surface a little bit with some idea of texture, even at this range. So that has added a little bit of description. So the animals that are even a little further away have quite a lot don't have this dark tone. I'm just going to paint those with two values and a little bit more subdued with the light tones, so it's not quite the same. Just go around the form a little bit. So there was this terracotta underpainting which is still coming through in places. Let's see if I can get this one in. So it's just a little bit darker than the colour behind it in terms of light and shade. Dabbing marks. So those are really quite loosely described. Not a lot of description back here compared to a little bit nearer. And I'd go for the profile. So the tone that's behind on the field is similar. These sheep are almost lost in the mist. I want to go that way. Dabbing the colour on. Some idea of form and shape, but nothing very solid, nothing very detailed. So how those compare with the nearer animals, almost disappearing in the distance, and then with the nearer animal, a case of using much more contrast, a warmer colour as well, so a white with a little bit of yellow ochre in it, It's got to come off the brush, so there'll be some dilution of the colour. And looking for lighter bits, so maybe that's a bit lighter there. So contrast, the idea of contrast is it comes forwards. Just going to roll and turn the brush to make it a point to draw with, so you'd expect it to be a little more detail nearer. And dabbing marks, mark going round the shape, so there's more description of the shape's anatomy closer. Limbs, body, and obviously light still, although there's limited light, there's more light on the back as light is coming from above, so the hint of texture and shape with the mark. And just thin that colour down a little bit and roll the brush. So one of the consistent elements in this is that the side of the animal is darker than the top. And hopefully when you look back at the whole thing, there is that difference between near and far, and the more distant animals appear to recede in the mist. That's the aim.